like some sort of emotional response to Creative Mornings, but I just feel the energy in here this morning and just so many beautiful people in this room that I know and don't know. Raise your hand if this is your first time joining us. Oh my gosh, welcome. Seriously, welcome. Thank you for being here. We have such a special morning. And I keep using that word special for this morning, the group of women that you are going to experience this morning. We had a Zoom call a few weeks ago, and I just left in awe of their energy, of their presence, and what they're going to share with you today. So glad you are here to witness their amazingness. But before we get, am I good? There we go. Maybe? We got it? Maybe? Ha! We have to say thank you to Jess Shakoy. DJ, where'd they go? Over here, round of applause. So we are partnered with the Underground Music Academy, which I did this last time. See that QR code right there? They're a nonprofit, and we want to support them. So I need everyone to pull out their phones real quick. Ready? I'm watching your phones. And you're gonna support them and their amazing work they're doing. I'm gonna give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Amazing. But thank you, Shakoy, for being a part of this morning and just setting the vibe. Truly, I appreciate it. And this morning is also brought by our amazing collaborative partners that make this happen. This is a volunteer-ran experience, and there is a lot of work. This team was here Wednesday night for hours putting this together, and so it is a labor of love, and I am so grateful for everybody. And I'm so grateful for our sponsor partners this year as well. And so thank you to all of these amazing people that also serve as an amazing resource to this community. So take a picture of this, reach out to these people. These are business resources to support you as you continue on your creative journey. And also we have the Sepia Coffee Project in the back. Round of applause. Yeah, best of the best. I haven't gotten mine yet. I need to sneak in line, but thank you for being here. And thank you to this amazing space, the Detroit Design District. There is amazing things that already go on in this space, and there's amazing things to come in this space. It's the power of her. Where's Kate? Where's she at? There's Kate, yeah. Okay, you love her. Do you want to say anything? Okay, great. So she's hosting an event on March 1st in this space. Tell us a little about it.
Thanks, Taylor. And Taylor is such a queen. She made it happen. I called her in December and was like, hey, this crazy idea. And Eric, who's back over there, has come on board. We have so many amazing people who have stepped in to help. But I hope you all will come to this. There are many events going on throughout March. But this is Detroit's only Women's History Month event, which is crazy to me. So please come and support it. And if you get your ticket today, you get $5 off. They're only $25, so $20. If you use the code CREATIVE. So I hope you all will join us. It's not just for women and girls. Let's all come together and support women and girls throughout Detroit.
And continue to learn about her mission as well. She has a podcast, an amazing media platform, and that QR code is right there. And lastly, if you may or may not know, every month we send out a newsletter. It's the Features and Opportunities newsletter. So I know there are so many people in this room that have events, they have amazing offerings, they have amazing things that they offer to the community, and this is the way to present what you're doing to this community. So there's a form you fill out, we put it in our newsletter, we put it on social media, so we would love to include you. So another QR code. You guys know I love another QR code. All right, and now, the reason you are all here for these amazing presentations, I want to introduce Michaela to the stage, who's going to be your amazing host and moderator. Come on up, round of applause for Michaela. Thank you for being here. I'll hand you the mic.
Thank you so much, Taylor. All right, wow. Well, like you just heard, my name is Michaela Ayers, and I'm going to be your moderator today, and I'm so excited and grateful. Can we give applause to Taylor and the Creative Mornings crew for being such wonderful hosts? And I also want to give a round of applause to you for being here, for getting up out of bed this morning. I know myself, getting up out of bed before 8 o'clock, being somewhere before 9. Round of applause for yourselves, okay? Yes, yes. All right. Let me just arrive. Let me see who is here. I see some familiar faces. I see lots of new faces. Wow, what a beautiful crowd. But don't just take my word for it, look around. make eye contact with a stranger, maybe give somebody a wave in the back. Hey, yes. You know, this community thing gets a whole lot easier when we start talking to each other. And I am so excited and grateful to talk to you about some of my favorite things: Black history and the creative power of Black women. Yeah, that's right. That's right. The creative power of Black women is infinite. You know, when you think about your grandma, your mom, your auntie, your sister friend on the street, you know, that woman who's able to take something, take nothing and turn it into something. And, you know, when it comes to thinking about Black history, for me, when I think about Black history, I think about jazz. I think about that rhythm, that movement, that energy, and also I think about improv. So while today, you know, myself and our speakers, we're gonna be up here, and y'all are gonna be over here, we're still a part of the same conversation. So there will be opportunities where we're gonna be inviting your voices into the room, and when that happens, I just invite you to jump right in. Don't be shy, don't be scared. Okay, can I count on you? All right, so one last thing before we get started. Would you please put your hands together and give a warm round of applause as we welcome up our panel.
Is it? Okay. This is the one I was having. Test. All right. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right. Ifayomi, I'm going to start with you. When you tell people about your work, what do you tend to lead with? What comes out?
In my work, one of the primary things I think about is wellness and how to be well. A lot of the art that I've created has come from a place of my own journey to being well, my family's journey to being well, my community's journey to being well. So that's the lens that I start with. And it's always my goal to uplift the stories of those who are in the margins, those who are marginalized, because to me they're the framework for so much transformation, so much power, so much innovation, so much creativity. And what I like to do in that is see them from a lens that is very reverent, very sacred, very holy. So I think about all of those things, how we are well and the beauty in that journey.
Beautiful. Welcome. All right, Cornetta. I would love it if you could introduce us to you by telling us what motivates you to do the work that you do in the world.
What up, though? Hi, everybody. That's my friend, too. Hey, friend. So just real quickly, we did a lot of work to make this space feel different. You might see some tables with some wonderful things on it. And it's all an homage to our grandmothers in this film. So just wanted to point that out. Yeah, there you go. Yes, thank you.
We clap. We be clapping.
Can you ask your question again?
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what motivates you to do your work.
Yeah, so again, my name is Cornetta Lane Smith. I am a mom of two wonderful boys, Legend and Lennox. My husband is in the audience somewhere, Brent Smith, there you go. I am motivated to tell stories because 2017, my father passed away. I fell in a deep funk and I just couldn't find my way out of it. And it wasn't until my mentor, Satori Shakur, who is the director of Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers, she was like, girl, you look like you got a story to tell. And I was like, who, me? And she was like, yes, you. And in the process of her helping me to figure out how to tell my story, I had to do a lot of reflecting. I had to do a lot of digging into my memory bank to remind myself of my father and who he meant to me. And in that process, it really did facilitate my own healing. And by the time I got on stage to tell my story, I felt the fog kind of dissipate. And I remember folks coming up to me afterwards and they were like, you really inspired me to call my dad. I haven't talked to him in a long time. And I thought to myself, wow, like healing, like storytelling creates so much healing for yourselves and then even for a community. Like it can move the community to do and act in ways that they probably wouldn't, in ways that give them courage to do it. And so I'm motivated by, telling my story, telling the story of my family and my community, and hopefully motivating people to do things, to be courageous, and to step out of their comfort zone. So that's what I'm motivated by.
Thank you so much. And what you're saying around storytelling as a path to healing, I feel like is a great segue into Dr. Carolyn Carter. Would you please tell us a little bit around, I know for you, sitting around the kitchen table with your ancestors is a really big part of your work and storytelling in that way. And so I'd love it if you could tell us a little bit about, if you could sit around a kitchen table with one of your ancestors, who would it be? And how have they influenced your work?
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I am the hopes and dreams of my ancestors, and so are all of you. And I had the opportunity when I was 5 years old to sit around the table with my grandmother and my great-grandmother. So I would want to talk to my 3 times great-grandmother because I would want to know her story, how she survived, because she survived all the way to get to me. I am here. I am standing on the shoulders of my ancestors because they endured it. They survived. They lived so that I could be here today to talk to you. So I would talk to them and ask them, what did you do? What was so great about what you did to get to me? I would want to know their story. And that's been my journey. I've been a professional genealogist for over 30 years. And I've walked the plantation of my enslavers. I have met with the descendants of my enslavers. I have researched my maternal and paternal side. So I'm deep, deep, deep into the history of our family. And I think it's so important that all of you here today learn your family's history, learn their stories, because when a relative dies, it's like burning a library, and all of those stories go with them. Think about all the people we lost during the pandemic, and you had the opportunity to learn their story and you didn't. So as we sit here and listen to these 2 beautiful women tell their story and answer questions, think about when you leave here today, what are you going to do to continue the stories of your relatives so that you can dig into the past of your ancestors? Thank you.
All right. Okay, my friends, so what is about to happen next is we are going to transition into watching these 2 films. We're going to be watching them back to back, and we're going to be playing a little game, a little word association game, okay? So when the moment comes, I'm going to be asking you to share what words come up for you in between these 2 films, just to give us a little moment, a breath in between the 2. So that's what's going to happen. That's how we're going to play the game, and I'll let you know when it's time. But I think for now, we're ready to go ahead and hit the film. All right, a few words. What comes up? A little louder. Healing. Alchemy. One more time? Alchemy. Spirituality, community. Hope, process. Nature. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Thanks for bringing your voices in the room. Let's go ahead and bring our panel back up. Healing, honoring, legacy, touching. A word that came up for me in watching both of your films was intimate, and just how close you brought us to your family, to your stories. And, you know, as a fellow artist slash storyteller, I just want to thank you for the vulnerability and love that you poured into your work. It's really felt. So thank you. And yeah, Cornetta, I wanted to start with you because I love that your grandmother came to you in a dream. As a fellow dreamer, I think that's just such a beautiful thing. And so I want you to tell us a little bit about your process of going from vision into reality around this process, which I know is still a work in process. But if you could just tell us a little bit about how where you've been and how you got here.
Thank you. First of all, it's a lot of y'all in here. Like, oh my God. That's a lot of y'all in here. My process. So yeah, this is part of the process. I am showing you a work in progress. The film is about 80% there. There are still some narrative pieces that I want to include in it. Obviously some transition, color correction, like all the things, like all the technical things. But the process, I guess, started 3 years ago or so. We were in the middle of the pandemic. Maybe it's 5 years. How long ago was the pandemic? 5 years ago. 6 years ago.
Hard to believe.
I don't know. It feels like yesterday and today all at the same time. But yeah, my cousin Eli, he gave me a call and he was like, hey girl, who is Sebastian? And I was just like, I don't know. And you know, I talk about in the film how I was, ashamed of my grandmother. And I actually carried embarrassment for being ashamed of my grandmother. And it's been years in the works of me maturing, becoming a mom myself, understanding how white supremacy works and how I have internalized how the world sometimes see black women. And I had to shed that. And really this film is an apology to my grandmother. It is an exercise in self-forgiveness. And it is a celebration of my family and me being able to introduce my grandmother the way that she's supposed to be seen from my perspective to the next generation. Because my boys never met my grandmother. And what a privilege it was to know her. And I just want to be able to pass that down to them. And so the process has been, 1 minute I'm like on top of the world, like, oh, I got this. And the next minute I'm like, what in the world am I doing? Like, I don't know how to do this thing. What am I doing? But I had a quick showing of this film last night with my family, and they had amazing reception to it. Y'all had amazing reception to it. Thank you so much for your generosity and your kindness. But yeah, that's the process, and I'm still working at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear all the layers, and I appreciate how relational it has been, that you're not out here on your own, that you've been bringing your family and bringing people along with you. And Ifayomi, a similar question in terms of, what were some of the questions you were asking yourself when you set out to create this film?
Well, I would say that as somebody who's been actively grieving for a really long time, 2013 is when my great-grandmother passed, Christine, and I had a really healthy relationship with a Buddhist practice, which I got from my grandmother. My grandfather was Muslim. I was raised Christian, so I had like kind of all of these things to lean on, to just stand on, however I needed, and I felt like mantra and spirituality and wellness and just obviously family was a great way for me to be in relationship with my grandmother as she transitioned. And then when my grandfathers, both of them, great-grandfather and grandfather, passed, in 2016, grief started to look a little different. It was already hard when grandma passed. Then when the grandfathers passed, I think that's when I started to really notice just a deeper depression and also just a recognition that I was losing parts of myself. I was losing stories. I was losing folks who were foundational to who I was as a person. And one of my grief partners was my aunt, Naya, who we saw in the film, in the recreation. And she passed in 2021. Now, she had been my grief partner for a long time. And I remember in 2021, my therapist was saying, keep leaning on your aunt. There was some stuff going on I was having a difficult time with. And my therapist said, keep leaning on your aunt. There we go. Keep leaning on your aunt. Then this girl had the nerve to pass. I was like, what are we going to do now? And so from there, her passing really started to have me look at questions about my place in the world as she was a plus-size woman, and what we carry. Her death was very preventable. And I started to look at just the stress that we carry as Black women. And I started to, don't want me to talk. No. And I started to just go back a little further to my grandmother's story. And I recalled my grandmother telling me the story of her losing her children when I was about 13. She told me this story of her living in the South and her losing her children, the first children that she had ever birthed. She lost 3 of them to fire, 1 of them to medical neglect. And to this day, I don't know if that fire was a result of racism. I never asked, but I also started to just see and recognize patterns in my family, and just this generational silencing of pain and trauma and what that does to the body, what that does to your family. And I wanted to just reimagine that transformation in myself. And those are some of the questions that I was like, what does my family line look like healed? What do we look like when we're not hiding our pain? What does it look like to share process with community again? When the foundational person in the family passes, the family dinners kind of slow down. The things that we used to do to kind of stay together, that support system, it weakens a lot. Or at least it did in my family. We try. My mom is the cook, so she brings folks around. But those were some of the questions that I really wanted to explore, because I started to notice things that were happening in my own body. Some of the pain and stress that I had never learned to process properly. And then the roles that I was taking on as a Black woman that I had learned from my mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother. And I just wanted to transform that and see our bloodline transform and to heal.
Wow, thank you for that. And I'm wondering if that's like a dead zone perhaps that you're in, and maybe we could just move you a little bit or something. But I want to just, take in what you said around what does my family line look like healed. And I think also what I hear and what I see in your film is how do I hold grief? And what are the many ways that can be transmuted and transformed? And I think there's so many intersections around that and the work that you do, Dr. Carter, in the world. And so I wondered if you could speak in your experience, what is healing about doing this kind of ancestral work?
For me, in my journey, healing is knowing that our ancestors were not perfect. And they often passed down the pain because that's all they knew. They didn't always share the good things and all the good stories because they were busy living and existing and trying to make sure that the family was okay. And so in the space of grief and memory, I think it's important that as you research your family and learn about who they are, you understand that there's going to be pain, but there's also going to be joy. And we have to face both of them. When I first saw the enslavers' will inventory of my great-grandmother's siblings online, it was a pivotal moment for me. I looked at that document and I was taken aback because there were the names of my great-grandmother's siblings listed and how much their lives were worth. So as you bring that forward and you think about how much their lives were worth, what is your life worth to them? We owe them a debt. It's our responsibility in this space that we're in today to tell these stories, to know their history, because our ancestors often passed down the pain. And as you're researching them and learning who they are, and not just Black people, all people, learning who they are, you are learning about their lives. You're learning about who they were and what they did and how they survived so that you could be here today to tell that story. It's our responsibility. It's part of their legacy. We are their legacy. And as we stand on their shoulders, it's our responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Now, in both of these films, we gather around a dinner table. And I feel like one of the many joys that we have in life is food. And so, Cornetta, how did it feel to prepare your grandmother's favorite meal and then invite your family to come together to honor her?
I was nervous because I was bringing my cousins over and they will just laugh at me if it ain't good, right? So I had to come correct. I actually invited my good friend, Chef Edric Gudea, who actually catered my wedding. But I was like, come on over, sis. Like, let me make sure, one, does it taste good? And two, will it look good for film? And so we did that practice. And then, you know, I did my thing, if I do say so myself.
It looked delicious.
Thank you. Thank you. I worked on it. But also, you know, KFC was like a convenient meal for my grandma. You know, like if you have kids and you have to cook for them every day, you're like, how can I just get a break? You felt my grandma then. You felt my grandma. But she just needed a break. And so I just remember, you know, going to church. You know, I was raised Seventh-day Adventist. We would go to church, be in church all day, dusk to dawn. And when it was time for, you know, food, we would go down to the church hall and eat. And my grandmother would supply us with KFC. And that was like our joy. It was a very convenient thing. And so I decided to kind of recreate that, and my family enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, you know, not only the kitchen, but in your film, Ifayomi, you take us to so many different places. So we're in your bedroom, we're in your living room, we go to Belle-Isle. So I was curious about movement and motion in your creative practice. Like, how does that influence your work?
So having this, just for some lore, my background prior to accepting the role of artist, I did a lot of wellness work. So I was doing a lot of body work, Reiki, things like that, where it informs you on the way that certain things impact your body, especially grief. And so grief is one of those things that, of course, we will all experience. But grief is one of those things that once it's on set, if you are unable to ground yourself, move through it, get it out of your body, it can start to cause a lot of health issues. So I don't know if you've ever known anyone who maybe experienced a lot of grief, and you may see them 6 months to a year down the line. They're like, what has happened to my body? What has happened to my health? And it's something that happened to me as well. And even in knowing, having done the Reiki, having done the wellness work, grief was like, girl, forget all that, sit down, we're sad, lay down, don't get up, don't go on walks, don't eat, just all these things. And eventually I had to build my capacity again. I had to just start to move little by little, whatever that meant. And the mantra, which was the title of the film, Until It Feels Like Worship, it was just do this until it feels like worship. In my yoga practice or getting on the mat, it was like, thinking of my body as an altar, do this until it feels like worship. And so movement in this film was a reclamation of my body. And also when I think of my body and I look at my hands or any part of my body, I think of my family. We're made of the same stuff. My hands are a little bit of my dad's hands, mixed with my mom's hands. And, I look at my skin and I see the things that my grandmother had on her skin, little spots that are starting to show up. And so movement to me was also just being able to hold them again and to honor them by taking care of myself. And just processing and grounding and moving through the grief, moving it out of my body, being in relationship with my body, especially as a plus-size woman, not thinking of movement as punishment, which it usually is. You're thinking about, I gotta do X amount of miles to lose weight, or, and so this creates a different relationship with movement in your body that starts with shame. So I also wanted to transmute that. What does it look like to see movement in my body as a plus-size woman as joyous? My aunt who passed loved to dance. What does it look like to dance with her even if she's not here? So just all of these connections to movement, again, I looked at from this sacred lens.
Wow. I think I'm sitting with what you said, and I think a word we heard was holy in reference to both of these films, but I feel like that energy of holiness is definitely something felt in the context of your work, and also what you offered around just recognizing grief as a weight, as something that we carry. And it was just so beautiful to see how you moved it in these different ways, whether that was stretching or going to Belle Isle or being with your friends. And so I really appreciated the way that you did that and the way that you narrated that for us in terms of understanding that was what was happening. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful work. And for Cornetta, you took us down south. You took us to Grand Junction, Tennessee, okay. And you showed us a record, a census record that referred to your grandmother's brother, Lodi. And so I wanted to hear about the process of discovering that record and, how you got there.
Yeah, so I actually started with my grandmother's death certificate. I couldn't find it. There was no one that held it. So I went to purchase my grandmother's death certificate to verify what the spelling of her last name was. Once I verified that, then I used that as a springboard to find other things, including the name of her father. So I found the name of her father, and then and I found his record up into the 1900s. So he was born in 1899, and 1900s is the first time I see his name in a census record. And I just felt like I came across a treasure trove. It was like, wow, it's there. The name that I've been hearing felt very real in the moment because I've never met my great-grandfather, and I barely knew facts about my grandmother. So it just felt very real. It felt very like a tangible, this is my family. And then when we met Mr. Donnie down in Grand Junction, he just shared that he knew Lodi, my grandmother's brother, and that he was a kind person, and he was the type of person that you would want as your neighbor because he was, such a community-oriented man. And that it also knocked me back a little because, again, like, we weren't finding living relatives in Tennessee. And so he was really a witness to my family, like someone who I'd never met before, like he knew. And again, he just made what I knew about, kind of as a side thing, very tangible and real. And that was very important for me.
Yeah, definitely. So amazing to get that affirmation of your ancestors' energy, their personality, their kindness from somebody who you can actually get a chance to connect with in real life. And Dr. Carter, I'm wanting to pick your brain because what are some of the key ingredients that somebody would need to start to do some of this ancestral work? Like Cornetta is mentioning a death certificate. Like what else would somebody need to look for to start to do their own family tree?
When you are beginning the process of researching your ancestors, you start with you. You start with you and you go from the known to the unknown. You start with you. You research your information and your parents' information. You write everything down that you know before you start digging into databases and looking online. Go through your family archives. What do you have in the attic? Who wrote information in the Bible? What documents do you have at home? And then you begin digging into the archives for all cultures, not just African American, because our ancestors, a lot of them were illiterate. And you have to learn how to spell your ancestors' name, their surname, incorrectly. Because they didn't spell things the way we spell them. They spelled them the way they sounded. And many of our African American ancestors, once they were no longer enslaved, they would add an E to the end of their name. That meant emancipated. And so as you're looking for these people in your family, my ancestry is very vast. My great-grandfather was Jewish and German. My great-grandfather was Irish. My grandfather was Jewish and German and black. My 5 times grandfather was Hispanic, black, and European. My grandmother was a Native American and black. And so I've connected with all of those ancestors, a lot of them through DNA. A lot of us are afraid to do that. We don't want to put our DNA out there because we're afraid of what the government might think or say. Whatever the government wants to know about you, they already know. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, and I connected with my Irish descendants that way. And so don't be afraid to reach out and connect with other people, genealogical societies, other people who are doing research in your field, just to see there's so many connections. It's so much easier now, but nothing beats getting off from behind your counter in your computer and going to where your ancestors lived. You need to go where they lived. You need to visit the little town and the county where they lived, because that's where you're going to get your greatest resources.
Yeah, absolutely. It starts with you, and then it ripples out from there. And Ifayomi, this film is about you. I mean, both of these films are about you, but I feel like we see you in this main character moving through all of these different stages, but we start with you in the bed, tossing and turning, talking about the grief within your bloodline. And so I wanted to talk about those books that we see in the bed with you. And which one do you return to most often? And what are some of the lessons that you've pulled from it?
There are a few of those books were representations of, okay, a horn outside. Were representations of different things that I wanted to honor in the film, just through in imagery-based context. So you see a recipe book called Praise Song for Kitchen Ghosts. My grandmother or my great-grandmother, she was the chef. She was the one with all the recipes. She was the one who gathered the family together. And that book, Praise Song for Kitchen Ghosts, it goes through the stories of women in the South, Southern recipes, and it articulates these stories and these recipes so well that I feel like I'm still in conversation with my great-grandmother. And I also bought that book for my mother as well so she could experience it, because her relationship with food and tradition, she got from my great-grandmother as well. So I would say that one is one that feels more just grounding to the story. And then there's a book that is like, I can't remember the right title. I think it's like The Art of Being Happy. And that is a book with Grief Brain. You really aren't reading a lot of books, or at least in my case. I flip to a page, I choose it, I take what I need. And that book would, oftentimes when I had the capacity for it, it would just give me a grounding moment, a breath, just a reminder to just be encouraged, to recognize that whatever's happening in my brain, there's no shame around it. You know, there's no shame around the pain that I'm feeling. And so that was also a book that was really affirming for me. And then there's also a book that it talks about different types of mushrooms. And so in Another World, there's this drum at the beginning of the film, and I'll just share. This photo on this drum came from a vision. I have taken psychedelics, and so this film and this vision and this kind of inspiration toward healing came by way of a vision that I had, a beautiful vision of my entire maternal line behind me as I was pouring water into this well. And it's inferred through this vision that this well is being emptied of our pain or our traumas. There was no speaking, there was just all of us in white for centuries. And so that representation of that photo of that drum, it came from a psychedelic trip. And if you know anything about mushrooms as well, they are used a lot in grief, and studies have shown the way that they create new pathways in the brain to help your mind just get to new, more positive places. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. And, you know, I relate in my own way to just flipping to, having a book, just flipping to something, getting what you need. Grief isn't linear. We're not linear beings. So I definitely relate and hear you around that. And I think the other thing that the title that caught my eye, I think it was mood therapy. And I was like, ooh, and I just appreciate the way that you're leaving little breadcrumbs in the work for us as we'll all go through grief, like you said. So just leaving little breadcrumbs for us, as your audience, and just getting to witness how you've moved through it. Yeah, absolutely. How are we on time? We got 1 minute? Oh boy. Okay. Well. Okay. Well then I guess I'm gonna move into my final question for all of us, which is. Okay. No, it's good. It's good. All right. I think I'll go with what feels important about this film right now for you. What feels important about the story that you're sharing and your work, and what you're wanting people to walk away with?
What feels important is, sorry, I'll go political because that's the only thing that I can think of right now.
Go there.
You know, the current administration is telling the Smithsonian what exhibits that it can and cannot display. It is telling, taking down memorials. Even in Philly, there was removal of a time of enslavement that was taken off, like the president's house in Philly. And I just think where are we on the time of the clock right now is being the protectors of our stories, and being the story keepers. And I do this for my family, but also as an example for other folks. These institutions will not hold on to our stories because of many things, right? And I just ask that if you're seeing this and you're inspired, begin to hold on to your family story and preserve it, because it's not guaranteed. So that's significance for me for right now.
I definitely echo all of that. And also just in being the story keepers and being the archivists, and being the people that hold so much possibility for the future, for your bloodline, for your descendants, for your community. I think the most important thread in this story, yes, you see myself, but you also see community. Our healing cannot take place if we are not together. We must be together. We must do all of this together. And even in telling our stories, there's so much possibility in us gathering, in curiosity, in, again, like Michaela said, get to know somebody new. There's so much possibility for what I can share, what you can share with me, so that we are all moving forward in our healing, and keeping our stories. Oh, is that the timer for?
Try it again.
And everything. Oh, is it this? Oh. I was sabotaged. No? Oh. Okay. Y'all heard what I said. You heard what I said. Be with community, be with your family, be curious, be committed to your healing, be committed to building your capacity for change. Do what you need to do because you know what you need to do. And just do it. Just do it and start small. It's so difficult. We are all experiencing so much grief, so much violence, so much displacement. We're in a majority Black city. We have a huge Hispanic population. We know what they're going through. We have an Arab population. We are all grieving something, but we need each other. And we need to make sure that we are honoring the stories of those who cannot speak for themselves and uplifting them. And we gotta do that together.
Go off, sis.
I want to put this out to the audience. There's an African proverb that says, when you speak the names of your ancestors, you invoke their spirit and they're always with you. So I'm going to ask each of you to close your eyes. On the count of 3, I want you to speak the name of an ancestor. Close your eyes. 1, 2, 3. Cassie Kirby. You just invoked your ancestors, bringing them to the present in your life.
Okay. All right. Thank you, thank you. A round of applause for this amazing panel. Like those tables around the edge.
Oh, yes. Let me stand over here.
Yeah, come by me.
So we have a tablescape in this corner with a phone with 3 prompts, and what you can do is you can answer one of the 3 prompts. You can share a reflection from today, share a word, but I would love if we could archive you today through audio on the phone. So please enjoy that tablescape.
And can we advance to the next slide? The next slide has a QR code, and it has all of our, there we go. It has a link tree with all of our information. Let me step out of the way. To where you can get in contact with all 4 of us. So, thank you.
Thank you, ladies, so much. I think I have doing this, I think I counted 24 creative mornings now of doing this, and so I have the vantage point of getting to be an observer and witnessing the space, and what I felt, and I think everyone in this room felt, was a sense of just reverence, not only for all of you, but for the work, and you positioned us, I think, to have more reverence for ourselves and our stories this weekend going into our week, going into our weekend, and so thank you. It's truly so meaningful, and so I hope all of us leave going into our weekend just a little more reflective, a little more, maybe we'll have some more meaningful conversations with ourselves and the people in our families and our friends and with each other, and that's what the space of Creative Mornings is for. So thank you so much for sharing with us. Thank you all for your presence today, and we're going to do it again on March 20th. So enjoy, please explore the partner tables out there on your way out, and have a beautiful weekend. Thank you.